Yeah.
Why is it important to study the social world? Is because as a human being you have needs and you want those needs met, and you do not have the ability to fulfill all of them. So the means to fulfill those needs lies with others. So therefore you have to interact with them. So now for that interaction to take place, you have to understand who they are, why they behave the way they behave, who you are personally, and what ticks you, what makes you tick. But what I know now, I had access to it in the past. I might have picked to study something like philosophy, social science, something before even thinking of picking technology or something. You understand? And because you focus on yourself so much, does not mean everybody around you is going to change. And because of the degradation of how we relate in the social world, you see people coming up with things like you don't really want, nobody really cares about you. Well, if nobody really cares about you, why are you where you are? You get my point?
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Understanding Our Social World. I am Khalid Alaudi, your host on this journey where we explore how our social world works, how it was, how it is, and how it could be. This podcast is more than just a platform for discussion. It is a space where we will construct and reconstruct the very fabric of our social reality. We will question, reflect, and engage with ideas that go beyond the surface, ideas that shape our relationships, communities, and society as a whole. Today's episode is titled Why Our Social World and Not a Physical World. It is going to be an essential starting point because it sets the foundation for everything this podcast is going to be all about. As you know, we currently live in a world where the physical is often more prioritized. Our buildings, technologies, landscapes, and the likes. But beneath all of that lies the social, that is the web of relationship, beliefs, systems, and norms that will govern our lives. To help us unpack these, I am joined by Abdulmalik Nurudeen Ajao. He is a student of Federal University of Technology, Mina, in Niger State, studying computer engineering. He enjoys thinking with computers and in his free time, reading about statistics and probability, computing, philosophy, history of civilizations, and economics. Together, we are going to explore why the social world holds so much power, why it holds so much importance, why it deserves our attention, how it can help us shape our understanding and perspective as regards to different choices we have. But before we begin the discussion, let me remind you that this podcast is about creating dialogue. So as you listen, reflect, and engage, feel free to share your thoughts with us on Twitter and Facebook at Understanding Our Social World with the hashtag Social World Matters. Now, we are going to begin the discussion. Abmalik, it's nice having you. Thanks for joining us.
For inviting me.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. It's an honor having you on our first podcast. So, we are going to begin with this first question. How would you define the social world in simple terms, especially for somebody that's unfamiliar with the concept? And at the same time, what distinguishes the social world from the physical world?
Okay, to begin, I would like to extend my appreciation to the host, which is Khalid. Thank you for inviting me on the bringing me out of this podcast. So to start, to define what the social world is in simple terms, especially for people that are unfamiliar with the concept, is firstly, I would like us to understand what the root word of the word social comes from. Therefore, thereby we can see how it relates to us. So for the root word of social, it comes from the Latin word soci or soci, which means allies. You understand? So we will define the term social within that specific definition that comes to mind is anything that it is relating to life, welfare, and relations of human beings in a community. That's the first one I would like us to understand. And then I'll borrow this definition from German sociologist, that's Maximilian Karl Weber. He says that you can define an action as being social if by virtue of the subjective meanings attached to the action by the individual, it takes into account the behavior of others and thereby orients its course. What that simply says in simple English is before you do something, you reflect on what effect it is going to have on others, and thereby you guide your action. So whichever world in which those particular things take place is what we term a social world. So for the physical world, the way we will define that is of anything that is relating to human being in terms of the what and the how, and the social world will be the why in context of human relations. So, for example, now what we'll say for people that study sciences, we'll say, okay, you can imagine human beings as like fundamental particles, you understand, probably electrons. And every time we go to school, what you are always being taught is when this interacts with this, this is the effect it produces. So that is what the social world is all about. When this human interacts with this human, this is the effect they produce. When this is in close proximity with this is the effect they produce. You understand? So what distinguishes the social world from the physical world, I would not necessarily use the word distinguish, but what characterizes the social world is interaction, basically. Interaction, be it verbal, non-verbal, cues in any form. So that would be my answer to that.
Thank you very much. I'm just learning a new thing today. I never did a research about like the origin of the word social, but I got to realize that like it actually originated from the Greek word, which means alliance, and it has to do with how. So it has to do with the why of human relation, right? So actually, this actually reflects the fact that the social world is actually something that can never be left out. And it's something that is either we either take control of it by ourselves, or it controls us, or those who understand the powerful effect of the social world actually use it to control us. So I'm going to move to the next question, and that's also it. Why do you think it is important to study and understand our social world? And can you share a real life example where the social world had a significant impact than the physical world?
Okay, so firstly, I'll take a cliche. This thing we've all had it before. Man is a social animal. Like you always hear people repeat that man is a social animal. So I'd like us to bring in like the root word, the origin of which where that cliche originates from. So that is the book The Politics by Aristotle. That's book 1, section 1253a. Yes. So his insight was this. I'll recite just a few paragraphs, then I'll explain what he says. It follows that the states belonging to the class of objects which exist by nature, and that man is by nature a political animal. So the word he used there is a political animal. Anyone who by his nature and not simply by ill luck has no states is either too bad or too good, either subhuman or superhuman. He is like a war madman, condemned as having no family, no law, no home, for he who is such by nature mad, he is a non-cooperator, like an isolated piece in a game of dots. So in the midst of the whole like sentence, what we will see there is he establishes that man is by nature dependent on others. You understand what I'm saying? You cannot live your life alone. You're not a singular being. You're a being in conjunction with other people. So if you go into, there's this very beautiful book I read, The Republic. I think that's Plato's Republic. That's what they call it. So in one of his debates that he established with someone, they were talking about how do you build a civilization. So he goes, okay, if you have a farmer needs meat, so he has to speak to a cow herder. A cow herder needs a sheep, so he has to speak to a sheep. So in terms of just plain needs that you get by every day, you cannot accomplish the whole thing yourself. So therefore, you need other people to come in to form a structure. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Now, why is it important to study the social world? Is because as a human being, you have needs and you want those needs met, and you do not have the ability to fulfill all of them. So the means to fulfill those needs lies with others. So therefore, you have to interact with them. So now, for that interaction to take place, you have to understand who they are, why they behave the way they behave, who you are personally, and what ticks you, what makes you tick, so that when you engage in those interactions, you can smoothly navigate the social waters. You understand? You have to understand yourself, you have to understand other people, and when that interaction takes place, it has to be on I'll not say a peaceful term, it has to be on an agreeable term in which everyone is beneficial to whatever they need. So for the social world having an impact than the physical world, well, I would not be able to give like concrete examples that, okay, these are the times that the social order has significant, because every time, every point in time in the life of a human, the social order has always had significant impact. Because let's take, for example, back to what you said, that why is this so important for us to understand the social world? A human being by nature is already embedded with a lot of social code he or she recognizes or does not recognize by default. Because if you think about it, the cacophony of law, rules, custom, norms that you have to abide by, or that you have to know to exist in society. And those things you are not taught. Those things you either understand them through imitation, or it's just something that you feel it comes to you, but it's part of the social code. Do you get me?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
To proceed on that, mentioning the times that social world has impact on like the physical world, I would not say there's a time where the social world has significantly bigger impact than the physical world, because, as I said before, it's always working together. It's always in tandem. When this one has an impact, it's because this one assisted in this. You understand? So that's my view to it.
In simple terms, like the reason why we need to understand our show is so that we can get what we want to get from people during our social interaction. Like we're a human being and we all have needs. And honestly, the more adept you are when it comes to studying social being, that's the better chance you get to get whatever thing you want. And that's actually very insightful. So how do the social and physical world interact? How do they interact and influence each other? And do you think one can actually exist meaningfully without the other? I think you've answered that question in your previous, but I would just want you to just be very brief about this, since you mentioned something like that in your previous response.
Okay, so my philosophy, my way to address the question is, if you think about how requisite water is to life, like for life to exist, there has to be water, and that's everything we've all been about. That is how the social world is to the physical world. You understand? Water by itself, without something to benefit, is just something, is basically useless. It does not have any use. You understand? When there's something for it to benefit, that's when they come together to make a meaning. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is for me the relationship between the social and the physical world.
Additional insight I actually got is that apart from the fact that nothing exists without water, and that's actually the relationship between physical world and the social world. Aside from that, in science, they do say that our world, this is our physical world, actually consists of 70% water. And looking at it, bringing that thing to actually the relationship between the physical world and the social world, it seems, in fact, the social world is actually like the 70% water of the physical world, because nothing can exist without interaction. Even non-living things, even non-humans, they actually interact with each other. That's actually very, very important. So, then I'm going to move to the next question. In history, throughout the history, have there been any pivotal moments where focusing on social world actually changed the course of events, actually changed the course of history?
As I said again, if I pick a point and I say, okay, let's generalize over other points, that we would not be able to learn much. But let's pick something that will greatly relate to the listener, which is, okay, the independence of her nation, the country in which he or she resides in. For independence to happen, people have to recognize that, okay, we have these needs that are not being met, or we have these wants that are not being met. And if we come together to address this issue, probably we can get this result. And you're able to bring together people of similar interests, not the word similar interests, because we've established in the beginning that what forms is social is an ally. And it doesn't mean ally in the terms of friend. It might mean ally in terms of sharing perspective or opinions. You understand me?
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
So for that significant event to take place, the social world has to is a key point, is a key part in what plays the role. So you have people coming together to share that, okay, we want independence. This is how we want to go about it. This is how beneficial it is to us. If you think about the independence of the country, if you think about abolition of slave trade, if you think about every other thing, you always find in the background of what you might not see. In the background is always that thing that focuses on human relation. This is how you should relate with us. This is what we deem worthy of how you relate with us. Yes. So most of the pivotal moments in history, be it war, be it peacetime, is always, okay, these people want these things, their needs are being met, or their needs are not being met. So they want to force their needs. You get?
Yeah, I understand. So that's a very great response. Currently now, when you talk about social interactions, what comes to people's mind is social media, all this kind of media like Facebook. And so many people like tend to equate social world with just like social media or social interactions like that. So like is there actually misunderstanding there? And if there is, how are you going to address such misunderstanding?
Okay, so for people equating the social world with social media, social interaction, I would not necessarily call it a misunderstanding. I would just call it an ephemeral focus, a very narrow, shallow, and jaded focus on a specific part of what forms the social world. You understand? Because before the advent of social media, we've always existed in tribes. We've always had a community. There has always been social interaction. And it's not just only about social interaction alone. Yes, I mean, so
I
it
guess.
is, for me, I think it's a labeling problem. You understand? Is you bring a label or something that is big or that is huge, then you just label it something that is very little. And I think it moves along the side of this, how do I call it? This self-centered approach to life. Being okay, everything. This is what I do. This is what I do. So it's just this social interaction is limited to this place. Every other thing, you really shouldn't be concerned about that.
Yeah, that's really important. Like that's actually very, very key because sometimes we having like the problem of labeling do create a lot of a greater problem for us in such a way that things we are meant to like give, the things we are meant to prioritize, things we are meant to give attention to, like we are really prevented from that just because of the fact that we already mislabeled some of those things, and this is also what we can see based on what you just said. So why do you think some people overlook the importance of social world? Because I'm just focusing more on the physical and material aspect. In a sense, well, for example, when I was very, very young now, and you see a lot of people, okay, also come medicine. Either you're in medicine, you're an engineer, or all these courses that are really absolutely the physical world, you understand? The physical world, you understand? Things that are something great. Why people tend to neglect the fact that our social world is very, very important, which can be seen when someone asks you that I want to study sociology. That's a very, very useless course. People are going to say that, oh, why do you study? Why are you going to humanities? You don't know book, or all this kind of stereotype that actually exhibits or that shows the fact that people have less concern for the social world and keeps to prioritize our physical world or the material aspect of our world. So like, why do you think these things happened? These things do happen.
Well, first is I'll pick that when those things are happening, the people it is happening to, or the people that are orchestrating something like that, is their lack of awareness. Because if you're not aware, if you're not vast in topics, you do not know how well they affect you. Like for me now, I'll tell you, it was quite that if I know what, like if in the past now, but what I know now, I had access to it in the past. I might have picked to study something like philosophy, social science, something before even thinking of picking technology or something close. You understand? So for me, I think the reason why people focus on like picking something physical or something like is because the models that they have, those are the people that they can see. Those are the people that they can relate to it. If you tell someone now, mention 3 philosophers or 5 philosophers that you know, he basically knows nothing. Have you read The Republic? He doesn't know what that is. Do you know what this is? So if you even when you look at the educational structure system that we apply, when you come from probably you start from secondary school, from the probably here we have the GS1 to the GS3. Other systems they may have something different. You will see in those curriculums there is no space. There's no space for those educations to come in. The only part where you find something like that is just limited to social studies and probably social studies, civic education, and something like the rest are mostly physical, because this is what happens when this interacts with this. and not, okay, why do we do these things? This is why this happens. This is the reason. Okay, somebody said this. This is our approach. This is our view to life. It's because they do not possess enough knowledge to make like concrete assumption. Because you even need knowledge to make assumption. You understand?
I guess.
If you're assuming that okay, if you're assuming being a doctor is better than being an engineer, you have seen some facts or some data they are making an assumption based on. But when it comes to courses in the humanities, social science, philosophy, and everything that relates with that, you will find that most of them do not have data to make assumption on. So it's just a bias that really has no base. So that is what I'll look at it as.
And that's actually very important because, it is something that you're actually familiar with, that you probably even know how you're going to judge. But something that you don't really know exists of, you cannot even think of it. That's actually how it is. I think...
I would like to add something there again.
Okay, no problem.
Is that when I'm in school, I've interacted with people, not all, but few of the people that you find in your field. Like I've met some of my friends in engineering that I speak to. Like we have philosophical conversations, and I know genuinely down deep in my heart that this person is going to make a good engineer, very fine. But this person is going to make a better philosopher, a better sociologist, because the person can relate concepts. You understand? I've met people like that, not 2 or 3, not 5. You understand? That are there. But the reason why they chose that course that they are in presently is because when they were making the choice, they had no data to form assumptions or even conclusions on. You understand?
I understand, yeah.
Before we give people like the chance to make these selections of what they want to pick, we should give them a bit of data or insight about life. Okay. And what I would like to add again is even key figures that come into like fields like physics, everything, you find out like I'll not say in ancient times because those times are not really that ancient, but you find that most of them study philosophy. When it comes to computing, the father of Boolean algebra, the concept of even the computer or the switch that the computer operates on comes from logic, which is a deeply studied philosophy before he even arrived at that conclusion. You understand?
Exactly, yes.
So it's not just a theoretical field in some concepts. It brings out some physical benefits for people.
Yeah, that's actually very, very key. And in fact, I think I came across a biography of someone that won a Nobel Prize in physics, and the person was like, I think his feat was actually achieved because of his knowledge on psychology. Is it psychology or philosophy? I cannot really remember. So like even sometimes the combination of the physical knowledge about the physical world and knowledge about the social world, when it comes together, they make somebody very, very formidable. And aside from that, the fact that a lot of people don't really they are not really enough data available for people to actually see that. Let me even consider some kind of field in the social aspect of our world. For example, a lot of people know about Einstein right when they were small, but in fact, I got to know Sigmund Freud when I actually entered university, and that is how bad it is. And the fact that, yes, our society has actually defined, or have already defined, look at our secondary school. Like, I thank God for my secondary school, actually. There are some other secondary schools that the way they are going to put you in different departments is going to be based on how well you pass. If you pass in all your secondary schools, or you are very good in your junior school, you are probably going to put you in science. And that doesn't really work like that in life. Probably that's actually what happened to some of those that you actually met that they would have made a greater philosopher, a greater social scientist than they are being an engineer or being. So that's actually really, really important, and it's actually a call for parents to education systems, like custodian of education system, to actually take a critical look into that. So, are there any key theories or frameworks that you think are crucial for understanding our social world?
Key theories or frameworks is, for me, I would not specifically call any theory or framework key, because regarding sociology or everything social, philosophy, whatnot, people come up with frameworks, you understand, and those frameworks work most of the time, some of the time, some in special cases, you understand. So, but For starters, I would recommend you should read. There's this very amazing book I just read last month, Surrounded by Idiots. It's not largely material on sociology, but it gives you insights into human behavior, why you do what you do, how to work effectively with others, and why do they behave the way they behave, so you can accommodate them, so they can navigate that social waters effectively. And I also like to add this very short quote that we always see everywhere: know thyself. People attribute it to Socrates or Aristotle, whoever. So but is a very important thing that you need to keep to know. And also, one of the things I would like to add, I think for me personally, from my own perspective, that is very key, is there are two things that affect a human. You understand? The one is the internal, and the second one is the external. So when we talk about the external, we talk about the culture. The culture, that's where you find yourself. What do the people do? And the culture is what we call the mass mind. That's the cumulative of all the minds that you have in your surrounding. So now, when those minds comes together, when they come together, they perform an action. That action is what we call the society, the structure that we see around us. You understand me? Internal is what your mind, what you think, and the concept you have about life, behavior, how you actualize those concepts. So having this thing in place and knowing how to effectively balance your action is what is going to give you, at least it's going to give you a starting foundation to do well in the social world. For example, now, if you are in a relationship or in school, or you are speaking with someone and someone says something, you know this thing, you are going to find it offensive. The first thing you do is, you break it down. Why is this offensive to me? What triggers, what is triggering that offense? You check yourself, you say, these are the biases I have in my mind. This bias, let's put it to test. Is it actually correct? If it is correct, do I want to be offended? But if I want to take offense, fine. So I'm not interested in taking offense, I can take that out. So it gives you, I'll not say it gives you power per se, but it gives you that ability to control and to define actions. You understand? And within that context also, you have to understand that there are things that are outside of your control. That's when it comes to the culture and the mass mind. You understand? When people do certain things, you do not have control over them. The best action that you can take at that particular point in time is to understand why they do what they do. What are the biases that they have? Are those biases, are they founded with facts? Are they based on facts, or are they based on assumptions that are untested? You understand? So those are the key things I think people need to know first to do well.
Oh, that's actually very important. Like, in fact, if you want a soft life, be adept in social sciences, like you understand social science, like know yourself, like you said, know thyself. And also the book Surrounded by Idiots, like I'm going to make it my next read. It's going to be very interesting. The title is actually interesting, so I'm going to make it my next read. So that's actually very, very important. Once you're able to do those things, you have more control over yourself, more control over yourself. You'll be very critical about yourself, about your environment, and you'll be able to understand things better beyond the surface, beyond what you see. So, but now, let's come to the personal level now. How has understanding the world, the social aspect of our world, influenced your perspective or decisions?
Okay, on a personal level, for me personally, I'm going to cite some examples of events that has occurred to me, and I'll pick one that just happened just a week ago. So, people that don't know me personally, I'm a person that I really value thinking a lot. So I value taking decisions based on really critical thoughts, and that can mean that sometimes when I'm walking by the road, you can see me, I'm looking at you, I can see you, but I'm actually zoned out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm zoned out. My brain is somewhere. I'm critically thinking about something else. So I'm analyzing, and that in itself can cause that. Okay, I can just walk past you and I might not see you. I am seeing you, but I cannot recognize the fact that you're there.
You are looking at him, but you are not seeing him.
I'm looking at you, but I cannot see you. So it might sound funny, but what happened that day was I was walking in the streets. So there was this elderly man. The custom is when you pass by an elderly man, you're supposed to greet and you acknowledge the presence of the person. But being that I was coming, I had a task on hand. My my project manager just gave me a work. I just completed this week. I've been working the whole week trying to deliver stuff. So as I was working, I was thinking about the logic of how I was going to approach the project and everything. So I just walked past the person like that. You understand? It happened the first time.
Yeah.
The second time, the same thing happened like during the week, like 3 times. You understand? I was really busy that week. What later happened was the person came to meet my mom. I was like, okay, sorry, mom, how are you doing? How is everything? Your son, for the past few days, he has not been greeting me. Whenever he just passes by, he just goes. My mom was like, he's not greeting you. Are you sure? I said, please keep inquire if you're having any issues. So someone else was there when the issue was being reported. So the person told my mom that, it's very possible that I might not even see the person. He might just be lost in his own thought and be going like that. So when my mom reported the issue to me, I understood basically what just happened. Two things just happened there now. On his own side, I did something, an action that is irregular, and that caused an effect on him. You understand?
Yeah.
There are two decisions he could have picked. He could have picked to take offense or not to take offense. You understand? But being that he does not know me, that well, he does not know me that well. That okay, it's possible that this thing happens to this person. So the closest option he can have is to take offense that no, you've been doing this before, so why are you not doing this today? And the other person that felt like, nah, this person, he might just be thinking and just walk past you. It's a normal thing that you can do. You understand? When I was told that, I was not surprised. I did not pick offense that, okay, why are you angry? It's not as if I understood immediately that, okay, yes, okay, it's my responsibility to do this. But being that in that situation, this occurred, this is so congruently, I saw the person actually zoned in and actually greeted the person before I even continued what I was doing. Yes,
Yeah,
so that's just that's just a little example. Over time when you're in school, when you interact with people, you meet people that are like of different belief, perspective in life than you. And sometimes you can be very angry, you can be very frustrated, like, why do you even think like this? But that is the first step to, okay, why? But you yourself, you have to reassess, okay, why do I think this person opinion or belief does not matter? Okay, this is why they're arriving at this is why I'm arriving at this. Then you come to, I think that is one of the things that we need to understand between acceptance. Two things I want to take is acceptance and tolerance. If you are adept at like navigating social waters, you accept people, you don't tolerate people. Do you understand me?
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
For someone that's not so adept at relating with people, you are tolerating them because inward you are triggered, but you're just trying to suppress that. And one day that thing is going to burst. But for someone that accepts people, you understand yourself, you understand the other person, you understand that, okay, this is why they are having at this decision. When this happens, this is what they are going to do, or this are the likely things they are going to do. You are not going to be triggered when people do some other things. And there is one thing I like to keep, I want people to, a key takeaway, I want people to hold this. I wrote something that I said, we are all a set of triggered springs. You know, when you have a spring, you wind the spring down. You understand?
Exactly, yes.
So the road to whatever we deem enlightenment is to unload those springs one at a time.
I understand, yeah. Yes.
Because you have beliefs that you don't even know where those beliefs came from. And when someone challenges those beliefs or those constructs, you just get triggered for no reason. So the key to really having a good relations is to understand, okay, why are these things existing in the first place? Unwind those things. Anyone that is based on things that are incorrect, or take them out and fit them with what you find at that particular point in time to be correct. And you continue to do this evaluation process over and over again.
That's really beautiful. Like, you know, the thing is that even for me personally, I feel one of the blessings I've actually got from being a social scientist, like, is about the fact that I understand people, and I don't relate with a person. Like, for example, I don't relate with two people the same way. I relate with them differently, and that's based on things I've actually understand about them and how they relate, some of their belief system. And one thing is, like, you have to know yourself, like, you need to understand yourself. and you need to understand the person you're actually interacting with, his belief, is like a lot of things about him. And once is able to do that, you keep having soft life. Like you keep, though there are sometimes the human factor is going to be there, because there are sometimes that you won't want to understand, you won't want to accept, understand, but then it actually takes a more critical approach to be able to actually bypass some of those things, and those things are actually very, very important. Social science is actually a blessing for those who knows and who are very deliberate about seeking its knowledge and applying it. Thank you so much for that answer, Malik. So now, what lessons from the social aspect of our world do you think everyone should learn to be able to navigate life better?
Okay, so for one, I would like people to be more self-aware, to understand themselves better. And number two, my sound counterintuitive is I don't want people to overemphasize on self-awareness also. You understand? Because I tell people, I used to tell one of my friends that yes, it's fine to focus on yourself. It's fine to do this, to work hard, to focus on yourself, inner goals and whatnot, and whatnot. But your focus cannot break a hole through the wall. And because you focus on yourself so much, does not mean everybody around you is going to change. And after that again is I want people to have, all I call it, a curious mindset. You don't just rely on what you've been told. You have to like put in effort to do things. And people should not necessarily, don't live a self-centered approach to life. You understand? I would have really loved to key down on that, but I don't believe people should live a self-centered approach to life. There's really nothing in yourself. Everything that is joy, that is fulfillment, everything that makes life worth living is in the community, not in the person.
It is the community that make you, don't really make yourself. That's very important. So we should move to the next question, right? Okay, so the last question for this episode. I hope everyone you are really enjoying this podcast, and you can keep sharing your comments about what you see amongst your take about some of those issues that have been raised by our guests here. So our last question is, if you could redesign our social world, like the social aspect of our world, what changes would you prioritize and why?
Firstly, what the changes I would like to prioritize, I'll just pick. Oh, you've asked me that what would I like to change? So I'll pick all those things and I'll tell you how they come up as a challenge and what I think fixing them will do. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I said like self-awareness, overemphasis on self-awareness, ignorance, and actually the self-centered approach to life. So now, but if we look at people in terms of relationship, politics, culture, general things, but if you check around now I'm talking about the modern human, this 21st century, whatever, that in terms of relationship, you find out in relationship people are being unfulfilled, whether it's being having friends or establishing a family, just the basic units of the society, people are being unfulfilled. And that is because in their approach to life, there have been some drastic changes. People are living more inward life than outward lives. And there is a particular thing I would like for us to quote is, again, please pay attention. Modern ideas about psychology of this private life are confused. Few people today will claim that their psychic life arises by spontaneous generation, independent of social conditions and environmental influences. Nevertheless, the psyche is treated as though it has an inner life of its own. The psychic of pertaining to human soul life is seen as so precious and so delicate that it will wither if exposed to the harsh realities of the social world, and will only flower to the extent that it is protected and isolated. Each person's self has become his principal burden. To know oneself has become an end instead of a means through which one knows the world. This is from The Fall of the Public Man. Yeah, The Fall of the Public Man. So what that seems to emphasize is that we all have this shallow definition of what we are. You understand that? Okay, I am a good person. I am a giver. I am this. I am that. You have that definition like restricted in your head. You understand, to one part of your mind that you deem good or bad. But that thing, you're not bringing it out to reality to test with other people. So how do you want to know what you are? So in a relationship, how do you want to know if you are a loving person or if you're not bringing those things out and actually testing it within the social world? You can say, yeah, I'm a good person. I believe I'm a good person. No, you are not. In
I
any way you
believe.
want to define yourself, you can't just believe. Everything you define yourself by is by the action you perform in the social world. And there are some things that I would like to bring from, again, a lot of people do not regard religion with very concrete hand, but let me just refer to it as old wisdom per se. If you go into the Holy Book, the Bible, the Quran, anything, you will find every time that you always find mention of, okay, righteousness is this. And when you go and read the verses, always, okay, do this thing and you get the kingdom of heaven. Do this thing. It's not believe this thing and you get the kingdom of heaven. It's always do. You get me?
I get.
There's this very beautiful passage I read. I cannot remember the specific verse from the Bible I read. It said that Jesus was telling this man, I couldn't remember the man was. He said he should take his garments and sell it, and whatever money he finds, he should give it to the poor, that he will earn a kingdom in heaven. So that tells you it's not just by you believing that you are a superior being. It's take that thing, do it to the immediate social world you find yourself. Put that theory that you have about yourself, put it into test, and then you can see what you are. And if you go into the Islamic cultures also, you always find that, okay, the prophet is always going to say, whoever truly believes in God and his prophet should respect his guest. Whoever truly believes in God and his prophet should say something good. Whoever has believed in this should do this. And all these actions, we're always finding that they're always pertaining to how you relate with others, how you treat others right. You understand?
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, religion, like the Abrahamic religion, are very, very big on social interactions, and even in the Quranic, in the scripture, in the Islam scriptures, you are going to find situations whereby people are actually punished just because of how they relate. In fact, just how they relate with animal. Not to even talk of human being of ourselves. Social world, like invest in social world. That is really what you are going to change. People being intentional about the social world and stop being
And
self-centered.
for people, I still want to add some things. Can I proceed?
Yeah, you can.
So I've just addressed when it comes to relationship. Now, if you move into, let's say, you move into politics, where ignorance and self-centered approach to things, the way it will manifest, I want to, again, because I have opinions, but I want to quote something big, then explain how I got that opinion from it. So it says, we as human beings, we see society itself as meaningful only by converting it into a grand psychic system. We may understand that a politician's job is to draft and execute legislation, you understand? But that only works, that work does not interest us until we perceive the play of personality in political struggle. A political leader running for office is spoken of as credible or legitimate in terms of what kind of man he is, rather than in terms of the action or program he or she espouses. So, in our immediate society, when we want to elect someone for the office, I'm just going to tell, okay, he's a good man, he's this, is that. What program, what is his social credit like? I think that is what I'll use here. What is his social credit like? When he treats people, how does he relate with people? When he is given the key to the public store, how does he relate with it? When he understands that, okay, the property of people are within his care, how does he handle it? All those things, those are key things that people need to understand, because it's also part of the social world, how you relate with people. Self-awareness, being aware of oneself, not to always just focus on that. Focus on your external interaction with others. Don't be ignorant and move out. And sorry, because I would like to add some like key takeaway here. And because of the
No problem.
degradation of how we relate in the social world, you see people coming up with terms like you only live once, nobody really cares about you. Well, if nobody really cares about you, why are you where you are? You get my point?
I get, yeah.
There is nothing like nobody really cares about you, live once. You see this popular thing. And the problem again is when I tell people these things is you don't just carry things because it looks fancy to you. You have to understand the undertone or the background, the psychology behind those things you say, because they have an effect on
Exactly.
the way you behave, the way you relate with people.
That's actually very, very important. Even worse still is, why should I give a damn? Like, we are already living in a kind of world whereby there's a lot of like people overemphasize the fact individualism. Let me just put it like that. Like people over at the expense of our shared world, but they've actually forgotten about the fact that even those they are actually propounding some of those statements, they are making those fancy statements, they won't be where they are now, if not because of the social world they interact with. Their community made them and actually build them to who they are now. And took them away from who they were before. So that's actually very, very important. So and that is where we are going to draw the curtain today in our understanding our social world. A big thank you to you, Abdulmalik, for sharing your perspectives and challenging us to think deeper about the social fabrics that shapes our lives. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much,
much for
Abdulmalik.
having me. I really appreciate.
My amazing listeners, this episode is just the beginning. I promise you that. It is actually a foundation of what lies ahead as we continue to explore the multiplicity of our social reality. The social world is so dynamic, so messy, and so beautiful. It is really beautiful. And it is only through conversations like this that we can start to truly understand it. If the discussion sparked new ideas and made you question something you've always taken for granted, then know that you're on the right track. And don't let this conversation stop here. Share your thoughts with us on Facebook and Twitter, or you can drop us a direct message. This way, we can build this community, or we can build a community of critical and social thinkers as well as intentioned doers. Thank you for tuning into the first episode of Understanding Our Social World. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep challenging norms, and most importantly, keep exploring what it means to live and thrive in this complex social reality. I am Khalid Alawadi signing off. Take care and see you in the next episode.